I'm sorry, Andrew Weissman, but if I recall correctly, in 2018, you were one of the people who helped write the Mueller report, and you all botched the hell out of that.
And never in my wildest dreams would I have thought we would be here. I thought we were better as a country.
Oh, yeah.
Like all these sites that have been around for creating videos and all that, like text stock videos, they're done.
But that's why Canva was one of the first to get into doing AI.
What is up, everybody? It's Dr. Vibe here, host and producer of the award-winning Dr. Vibe show, the home of Epic Conversations, and I'm the host of Epic Conversations. 2018 Innovation Award winner given out by the Canadian Ethnic Media Association. 2020 Best Podcast News Award winner given out by the Canadian Ethnic Media Association. I also co-host and co-produce the only online show in the world for dads and fathers. It's sponsored by Dove Men Plus Care, and being part of that team, reached out directly and indirectly to over 400,000 dads, fathers, and male caregivers around the world. As always, I'd like to say you're blessed, highly favored, a magnet for miracles, and a solution for someone's problem. We're broadcasting live on November 23rd, just a little over a month till those who celebrate it, Christmas hits. So has anyone started their shopping yet? And it's coming up in America, Thanksgiving, for those who celebrate it, Thanksgiving next Thursday. A colleague of mine called it Thanksstealing. That's what they called it, Thanksgiving. So that's a whole other conversation. But want to say thank you to everyone who is here. And if you don't know, then you will gonna know that Saturday nights is not, well, there's an old song by Elton John called Saturday Night's All Right for Fighting. We ain't fighting, but we're dropping knowledge bombs with Aisha K. Staggers and Laura LaLa Key. What is going on, ladies?
We trying to get through this madness is what we trying to do. We can't keep up.
You can't.
It has been, I sent my mother, I said this last week too, and I sent my mother this meme, but it has only been, 3 weeks? 2 weeks? 2 weeks. 2 weeks. And it feels like it has been an entire year. And this is the kind of chaos that we're going to be dealing with for the next 4 years. And it's truly sad that we literally have a reality show president season 2.
I'm so depressed. I really
let's get off topic for just a minute. So before we went live, last week we talked all about Blue Sky. Mm-hmm. And I said I would get on Blue Sky before the next conversation. Well, I am on Blue Sky. Don't know what I'm doing on it yet, but I've registered an account on Blue Sky, and I've been hearing more and more about it over the past week. Heard an interview done by NPR with the CEO of Blue Sky, and also heard another gentleman who's very good in regards to helping people with YouTube saying, yes, it's a good platform, much safer, less toxic. Aisha, you've had some good interactions so far on Blue Sky, correct?
Yes, I have. I think I'm up to about 600 followers now on Blue Sky.
Yeah, you got a whole pot. I'm going, how long is this thing? Just going, oh my gosh.
I've only been on it for 2 weeks?
Yeah, I got 17. You see how popular she is.
I got few. I got less than that. So
I got 670. So okay. I've been on it for about 2 weeks, but I'm on some lists, some people's lists. So, there are lists that you can, for people you follow, that they'll put a list and you can subscribe to the list and it'll follow all the people on the list. And then those people will end up following you back. And people are more inclined to follow you back on Blue Sky than they are on Twitter if you follow them. I'm part of Black Book Sky. So a lot of Black authors follow me. Also part of Prince Forever Sky, and those kinds of niche groups.
I don't know how to become part of these groups. Like it's just for me, it's a little
overwhelming.
You do a hashtag add to whatever sky it is. So like I do hashtag add to Black Sky, and then they put you on the list, and people start following you.
Okay, so I'm gonna have to see if YouTube can give me a crash course. I'll look and see if there's a good YouTube video, a crash course on Blue Sky, because I've logged. I don't know what to do. Like, sure, I could post.
I don't see you, Dr. Vibe. What's your name? Is that Dr. Vibe, right?
Dr. Vibe, yeah.
You followed me.
It's not coming up.
Dr. Vibe, yeah. It's just simply Dr. Vibe, and yeah. So I've signed up and going, okay, what's next? I'm trying to understand how to, at least get in the rear view mirror of Aisha, because I'm going to go,
What you
she's
can
got,
do is start looking up, like in the search thing, search for podcasters and network with other podcasters.
okay.
Oh, she gave us homework. We got work to do, Dr. Vibe.
What I say, like,
I figured that, I used some of my skills from previous jobs where I was communications manager and growing their social media platforms and their followers. And I just do that. I spend time on it, and I read other people's posts. I
engage. You engage.
Yeah, and I engage. Engagement
That's the key.
is the key to growing your following on Blue Sky. And also too, I've been able to share my articles. I have this article that's on Medium right now, saying that it's basically after the 2024 election, Black women are saying, get somebody else to do it.
Yep, it's a good article.
And so that article is gaining some traction.
Okay.
It's gained me some followers. Yeah.
Okay. No,
Okay.
I'm trying to log into my account right now. It's not even doing that. So I don't know what's going on, but yeah, so what I'd like, I'm going to want to start to post some of our replays. It's saying whatever, forgot whatever, like email address. So, okay, what else has been going on? Well, we're going to get to the poly tricks in just a moment. What is life like outside of politics?
Christmas. I'm on a Christmas movie journey, which I have never done before Thanksgiving. But this year I just needed Christmas early, and I broke my tradition. So every day I have been posting a review of a movie, and I'm watching movies that I don't normally watch. I'm not watching the traditional ones yet, because I watch those with my husband, but I've been watching the new things like Hallmark and OWN and Netflix, and been doing a review every day.
Okay. Love that. That's fantastic. That is really cool.
That's nice.
Yeah. And
I watched Cross on Amazon Prime. I love Aldous Hodge. He's a great actor. It was so good that my daughter and I binged all 8 episodes yesterday.
Okay. That's on my list. I think we're going to watch that.
Okay. It was well written, well acted, well cast. I mean, it had a different director for each episode. It's only 8 episodes long, and it was just excellent. I didn't like the Tyler Perry versions. This is nothing like that.
Oh wow.
This has that kind of Shaft element to it, but it's got a little quirkiness to it, but it's also, it takes place in DC, so it's you get so lost in it. Their Blackness is not the subject of the drama. It comes up as it would of Black people just living, but because they're in DC, they do have interactions with white people, of course, but just being in DC, it's just how it's a true representation of how we are when we're just, amongst ourselves and, on a day-to-day basis. Like, I think it does that thing where, for some reason, white people seem to think that all we do is we get together and sit and talk about race all the time, like even just when we're hanging out with friends or whatever. And that drama just shows you that there's so much more to us. And I love it. It was so good.
Mm-hmm.
So good.
Okay. Well, before we do some things here, we've got number 1 fan here is in the house. You know what? I forgot to do something. I keep on forgetting to do that. Okay, that's better. All right. So she's in the house. What's up, Jen? Good to see you. Check out Regina. Hey, back from Cambodia. And excited to stand up. How is everybody in the room? There is a Prince Sky. Leave a link, please. She goes. Okay. She also says, I'm glad to see the quote, I'm eating popcorn for the next 4 years, unquote, for Black women. It's about time others pull their weight. Life is good. Oh, Regina says, amazing. We biked across. Wow, you biked across Cambodia? That is massive. That is absolutely
cool.
massive. And Aisha says, hashtag Prince forever.
That's the hashtag. Just say,
Yeah.
yep.
Okay.
And yeah, start following folks. And one of my favorites is there, and that's God, what is his name? He was on Twitter in Prince History. He was on Twitter, and he's on Blue Sky now.
Okay. All right.
And he was when I was having a conversation with before I left Twitter, saying that he was really worried about his friends here in the U.S. because I don't believe he's in the U.S. and he's worried about his friends here after this election.
Yeah.
Okay. So Lala, what I'm multi-purposing here. What is your handle on Blue Sky?
Living the LaLa life.
Okay, that makes sense. I should know better. There we go.
Did you pray?
There we go.
Okay, good.
And
Then
by
I'll-
the way, where is that picture taken with you like this, looking like I'm so cool?
Florida, trying to be cool down in that old crazy state.
Okay. Regina says, thanks. We did not do the tourist route. Good for you with Cambodia. Good for you. All right. So we're going to take a quick break. We only have one conversation topic tonight, but you know that the ladies are going to go all in on this. So we'll be back in just a moment, and hold tight because it's going to be another party and a patio tonight. Here we go.
Wow. What an awesome discussion and interview with Dr. Vibe. You can see why he's so successful, has so many awards, has so many accolades. Dr. Vibe listens so well to the person he's interviewing, and he loves bringing out their story to share with his audience. My name is Ramon Ray, founder of smarthustle.com, and I just had a great experience sharing with Dr. Vibe and his audience about my journey, and I want to say a big thanks to Dr. Vibe, big thanks to your community, Dr. Vibe, because clearly you love what you do, and you're a shining beacon for us all to focus on entrepreneurship, be better fathers, grow our families, and live and have great businesses. So thank you so much. I can't wait to work with you again. You're an amazing interviewer and first-class professional. Thank you so much.
All right. Raymond Ray, smart hustle guy. Good stuff. So some things we want to make sure we get out of the way first in a good way. Girlfriends chat with Aisha LaLa and Jill Jones at Patreon. There is the link. Then you have Primetime Saturday store. Anything new in the store yet?
No, but I'm going to put some new things up for the holidays.
Okay, good. And then
I will definitely have those up and ready for Black Friday.
Wonderful. And Primetime Saturday with Aisha and LaLa on the Discord group. Email me if you want to be part of it. I was putting in a lot of articles this week. I hope people didn't say, "Oh my gosh, Dr. Vibe, you're overwhelming us." No, I just put them in. As always, subscribe to the Dr. Vibe Show on YouTube and hit the notification button. Thank you, everyone who's doing that. Finally crossed 1,600 subscribers. Hello, that is fantastic. But if you haven't subscribed yet and you're up to it, please subscribe. Also follow me on Facebook, LinkedIn, and Instagram. And to advertise your business product and service on any of the platforms that I'm on, please feel free to email me at dr.vibe at the drvibeshow.com. All right. One conversation topic tonight, but I know you ladies got lots to say.
Yeah.
The conversation topic tonight is it's not about the people 45 is appointing. It's the policies that will affect Black people. It's all yours, ladies.
Well, to start, these appointees, it would be a comedy of errors, except none of it's funny, right? Not one bit of it is funny. And you know, the appointments have been coming rapid fire. We talked about some of the appointments last week. I have a new take on this former Matt Gaetz appointment. Now, if anyone doesn't know, Matt Gaetz withdrew himself from that because they really were they were on the precipice of releasing this report, right? But I realized that his appointment served two purposes. The first was to be a reason for him to resign from the House so that that report would not have to come out. Then the nomination was also a reason for Trump to be able to get his true pick for Attorney General through with no consideration, because she would be, in the eyes of Republicans like Lindsey Graham and others, qualified for the job. So anything else didn't matter, because we're talking about Pam Bondi, who was nominated within hours of Matt Gaetz withdrawing, right?
Lined up quick.
Too quick, saying that, she was she was former Attorney General for Florida. Dr. Vibe shared with us before we even came on air that she had run, or was it LaLa, or she had run Ron DeSantis's campaign.
Mm-hmm.
But also, too, not only did he put her there, her brother has a position also going in. But Pam Bondi is she's an election denier.
Yes.
And one of the things that he wants her to do, to revisit, is the 2022 cases. I'm sorry, the 2020 cases that he lost. We are going back.
So you can throw them out, and then he also can prosecute or twist people's arms to put them in jail.
But here's the other part.
His whole agenda.
Yeah. And here's the real thing that's scary for us as Black people, particularly Black people who protested during the summer of 2020.
Yes.
And they have a target on Portland specifically, because that's the only place that they can sit here and say, oh my God, there were riots. They try to make people think there were riots all over the country when there really weren't.
Right.
These were things that, and oftentimes when you look, they were incited by police. So one of the first things that they're looking at making, and they say this, if you go to the America First website, America First are the policies. Project 2025 is how they implement the policies. So on there, they talk about how in Portland, with regard to police, here's what it is say. The anti-police sentiment is really criminal and a threat to public safety. Okay, so basically, if you protest, they're on the precipice of saying that protesting against the police is a criminal act.
Yes. And
it's a threat to public safety. And which means, guess what this means? If soever a group of Black people, a group of people, period, want to protest in DC on the Capitol grounds, like the Women's March is planning to do, the white women are trying to do with the Women's March of 2025, that would be viewed as criminal. They want to call it anti-American, but that would be viewed as also a threat to public safety, which gives carte blanche for the police to come in. And not only police, he wants to use the military on protesters. We heard this throughout the campaign, but guess what? They wrote it. It's true. And the Portland thing is funny because I looked at there's this one article about the whole Portland thing and the threat. And mind you, this article was written about a week ago. This wasn't an article that they wrote in 2020 or something that they wrote, even just last year or over the summer. They just wrote this a week ago. So it tells me that this is something that's on their mind. Yes. They say that 1,000 people were arrested in Portland over the summer. Now, according to DOJ, it was just 100 people arrested in Portland, and on average, 285 people arrested in 49 cities across the country. Okay. So they also say that, we're justifying this because Portland spent $6.9 million in overtime just, for the summer of 2020. Well, guess what? That's a reduction, because what they don't tell you is that in 2019, they did an audit and found that they had been spending, just a year before, they had been spending $15.7 million in overtime. The problem wasn't the protest. The problem is that they have police officers who are abusing overtime. That is the problem. And then they also refer to protesters as just the way that they talk about people protesting, like it's a dirty thing. And then they refer to the prosecutors as rogue prosecutors. But the fact that they refer to protesters, social justice protesters, racial justice protesters as criminals, the January 6 people
Thank you.
actually killed people.
Yes.
But they called them hostages. They called them patriots. We saw what they did. The stuff in Portland, it made national news here and there, but we didn't sit on TV for 4 hours and watch from start to finish, them being riled up and then tearing down, and then the aftermath. We saw that happen. So that's one of the things that for me is, the way they're going to, they talked about weaponizing the Justice Department. It's literally what they are going to do. And they have Black people as the primary target for these things.
Your turn, Lala.
I have to say ditto to Aisha on everything. She does her deep research and she's right about everything. But here's what is bothers me to the core. She mentioned January 6th, and all of these January 6th terrorists who have now also been sentenced and things of that, he's going to be able to let them go. To him, they are heroes. They are doing what he wanted them to do. So that now they will be rewarded. This is no different than when he came out and said, there are good people on both sides. That usually means white is right. So anything outside of that construction of this whole thing, which we've always told you from the beginning, we are always going to be on the side of wrong with this administration. And what bothers me the most is people keep saying, well, we only have 4 more years with him. And I'm thinking to myself, didn't he tell y'all that he's going to make sure that we don't have to vote next time around? Stop leaning on old principles when they're already playing master chess in our universe. Anytime that they're going to be able to keep us down, they're going to. They've already said that. So what you need to do is to prepare. So what you're seeing and happening with these appointments, when none of them have any kind of experience in what they're doing, they're going to be rewarded for what he wants done. He's going to be able to whisper in their ear and say, I want this done. Yes, sir, going to do it. So that means anything outside of the construction of being white, you're in danger.
Has anyone ever seen the movie She-Devil with Roseanne Barr?
Yes.
So what Lala is saying is actually right. He might not be president again, but the damage will be done because he plans on firing anyone who had anything to do with the special counsel's office, even if they weren't selected, if they were just regular attorneys that worked in that office, he plans on firing them. A lot of people at DOJ are very scared. So in that movie, Roseanne Barr, ironically, her husband cheats on her and leaves her for a younger woman. And so she sets on destroying his life. And what she does is she creates a employment agency for women and plants all these women in jobs in areas where she'll need favors to destroy her ex-husband's life. That is literally what he's going to do. So he's going to plant loyalists in positions that otherwise are nonpartisan jobs. So even if he's not there, they are still there to carry the banner of America first, to do the work of that group of people. And it's like kind of like throwing a cog in the works. I mean, a wrench in the cog of otherwise functioning government, so that he might not be there, but we're going to stop any kind of progress. These will be there. You might have a Democratic president next with their cabinet, but the civil servants will have been employed.
Everything will be torn down. Do you know how many years it's going to take to rebuild the damage that he is doing?
Yeah.
So this is not like you just get a new president and you start all over. Hey, let's do it. No, you have dismantled things that have been put into place forever. And so, not to say that some things don't need to be changed, but let's face it, not like this.
Yeah.
All right. No, just want to say Regina says 1,265 on January 6th arrested versus 285 nationwide.
On average, 285 out of 49 different cities, right? It is ridiculous. You're right. It is so ridiculous, but it gets more ridiculous because the black job, there was a black job. The black job went, of course, to a former NFL player who was also a former member of the Texas state legislature for 2 terms. And it is a black man who heads up, as you would expect, housing and urban development. Because why?
No, I'm mad about that.
Trump thinks all black people live in the projects. The housing offices in states and cities controls the housing project. So he thinks that urban development controls all the housing projects. And I bet you if you asked him that's exactly how he would explain it, right?
Exactly.
So it goes to this black man. His name's Scott Turner. And, because of course it go to a black person. But he was the intern for Duncan Hunter. And if you don't remember, Duncan Hunter is the former congressman from California who left, I think, in like 2019 because it was found that he used campaign funds to cheat on his wife with like 5 different women. Two of them being staffers of his and a congressional aide and some lobbyists and things like that. So yeah, but Scott Turner, he's also chair for the Center of Educational Opportunity at America First.
Gee.
Which begs to differ. Like, why would he not put someone who's chair for the Center of Education in charge of the Department of Education instead of Linda McMahon, who used to own WWE, who lost 3 elections in the state of Connecticut? We don't like her here. 3 elections here, but also lied and said that she had a teaching degree. And then when someone called her on, it said, "Oh, I thought I had a teaching degree," because she did substitute teaching. At the time that she would have done substitute teaching in Connecticut, you did not need to have a degree.
That's because I'm a substitute teacher. I thought I had.
Because, and I know
God help LaLa tonight.
In Connecticut, but I was still an undergrad. I know this. So here's the funny thing, right?
Aisha, you can't be telling the truth on that about McMahon. You can't be saying she said that.
Yeah.
Yes. They said this on our local news. Okay. And so then I have this question. Anyone who went to college, how do you not know what you majored in and got your degree in? I do not know one person who has a college degree who would ever say that, "Oh yeah, I got a teaching degree. Oh, I thought I had one because I substitute taught." But she called her substitute teaching she was a student teacher. But here's the thing, in Connecticut, to be a student teacher, you have to be on the education track, right? An education track. So I
can't get by that one because I'm a student teacher.
And then it went to I wanted to be an educator. Okay, so how do you get from want to having a degree? Because that was, let me tell you something. Connecticut is very strict when it comes to its licensure. It was so easy for someone to check to see if she had ever had a teaching license. It's also easy to check to see if she had the degree, but beyond that, you have so you got the Black Jobs Guide, you got Linda McMahon in education. She's never run anything having to do with education ever. Do you know who Biden put in charge of education? And it's funny. The last two people who are in charge of education would have come from Connecticut, right? So the one that Biden has, he used to be superintendent of a district in the state.
We need LaLa here. Come on, LaLa. Come on in. I don't want you to be pouting all show.
I'm because it's so ridiculous. I feel like we're in a dream. You're talking about a woman who was in WWE. She knows nothing about education.
And she got there because of her husband, okay?
Exactly. And so once again, these minions are being put in place to do the bidding. The level of danger in this. Now they're saying that, of course, he wants to dismantle, and he will dismantle the Department of Education, and that this must be confirmed. I'm sorry, I don't believe in any confirmations anymore right now. Mm-hmm. Because he has too many ways to get around them. And as much as we wanted to in the past say that we're going to see justice against this man, we're not. We actually now have seen a different level. It's people who have once spoke against him are now all up under him. Mitch McConnell, for one. Okay, so my question is, what did Mitch McConnell do to get back in his graces? Are we going to see Daniel Cameron again? Because that was his chess move. Are we going to see that? Where will he be appointed? And now it feels like the Oprah show where she was like, and you get a car, and you get a car, and you get a car.
You get a job. You get a job.
You get a job. You get a job. In the meantime, our communities, when we already know that we are so far behind on education, mm-hmm. No one even cares about our schools, it seems. And with the fact that they're going to be changing the books where the history doesn't even reflect true history, that our communities now need to come together and make sure that we create these environments for our children where we teach them the right thing. And I do mean simply as ABC 1, 2, 3, because they don't want, what was the thing that they used against us during slavery? We were not allowed to read. We were not allowed to write. So if you think that they're not trying to go back to that, when we already are kind of like that, how many kids are getting passed through already with not knowing their level of education or even know how to read? And we hear cases of people graduating and they don't know how to read. Then you are sadly mistaken if you don't think that's the time that they want us to go back to. So once again, I agree with everything that Aisha says, and you're going to hear me say that all night long, but I need you to understand the dangers. So therefore, what do you do in your communities? Then you need to make sure that you take care of our babies. Yeah. If that means we have to go back to Black Panther status, then we have to go back to Black Panther status.
And we're going to have to, because I want to stay on this education piece for a minute, because Linda McMahon is in that position, is there to do the thing that LaLa just said. If they can't do away with the Department of Education completely, she's there to dismantle it. And one of the things that she's going to get rid of first is the free or reduced breakfast and lunch programs. Let me tell you, 60% of public school students, 60%, the majority, get free or reduced lunch.
And not all Black.
And they ain't all Black. Because you go to Appalachia, okay?
Ask me how I know.
West Virginia, okay? The majority of those kids are white kids. But she's going to do away with that. And here's the hypocrisy of it all. She, at one point in time, had been on food stamps when she was married. Okay, I found that in her bio. So talk about the pot calling the kettle black, or in this part, the pot calling the kettle a racist. This woman is going to take away something that helps children with their education, that she had access to, and that she took advantage of.
It served her purpose, but it's
Exactly.
what's good for me is good for me, but it's not for you.
And what they have found is that kids who get free and reduced breakfast or lunch, and now mind you, I come from a city that everybody, regardless of your status, because it's a Title I district, everybody gets free or reduced lunch. I'm not free or reduced. Everybody gets free lunch. Everybody. That's just it. Period. And one of the good things about that, it takes away the stigma. Everybody's on equal footing. But the benefit is that sometimes even kids whose parents have money, forget to eat breakfast, rushing out the door. They get breakfast. So their minds, they're not worried about the stomach being hungry. Okay, being hungry. They can focus. Lunch, same thing. They can focus. Yeah. With what you find is that some of these kids, these are the only meals that they get.
And that's all.
And then what's worse, if you didn't remember the last time, he cut those summer meals to kids who were getting free and reduced lunch during the school year.
That's right.
And when school's out, they don't get anything unless those programs are available. So he's willing to cut that. But beyond that, the other thing that they are going to do with education is what Lala said. We are going to start to see a rewriting of textbooks. We are going to start to see a federal requirement for some books. We are going to see that. But here's the thing.
Who do you think is going to write those books? Because he's already written the Bible, right?
Well, they already have them. Remember, they did this deal already. The books that they did in Georgia and in Florida, those are the ones that they're going to lean to. But here's the thing for me that I got to thinking about this. The Department of Education, the majority of what they oversee isn't K through 12. It's higher ed.
Yeah.
Just this week, they tried to put forth a bill to dismantle DEI and the EEOC, and saying that it was oppressive to white people. Okay? I thought about this because HBCUs fall under the purview of higher ed, obviously, and fall under Department of Education. This means that if they're talking about DEI and things like that, they're going to get rid of the Pell Grants. The majority of scholarship recipients at HBCUs get a Pell Grant. They're going to reduce those or get rid of them altogether. But the other thing that really frightened me was seeing what Ron DeSantis did this week. Ron DeSantis appointed someone to the board of trustees of Florida A&M University. And I was like, how could he do that? But he could, because FAMU is a public university. A majority of these HBCUs are land-grant institutions, which means that their board of trustees are appointed by the governor. Land-grant institutions makes a lot of them state schools, and those that are state schools the board of trustees will be appointed by the governor. Donald Trump might take that over and appoint his people over HBCUs, which would be a detriment. Because remember, HBCUs are one of the only places where people can freely teach Black history without government overreach. But beyond that part too, the other thing about this EEOC thing, and Jasmine Crockett went in. The other thing about the EEOC and the DEI thing for me is they're going to say that the admission of majority Black students is against the law. They are going to try and integrate the HBCUs. And not to say that they're not integrated, because guess what? Anyone can apply and get accepted. That's how they function. They don't discriminate.
But it's just everybody just assumes that.
Right. But they are going to, on the basis of this oh, we have to give reverse racism and all this stuff. And that's another conversation. But they're going to start making those monies and those scholarship funds, those federal funds, more available to white students who couldn't get into a regular college to go to HBCUs. And you're going to start seeing white students who basically had a 1.5 GPA in high school at HBCUs.
Okay.
With Black students who have, 3.5s and 4.0 GPAs.
All right. Just want to jump in a minute. Hello, Minnie on Cam. Welcome. She also says, going to school hungry, they're not able to learn and retain information.
Right.
Regina
Right.
says, Cardona was okay, but most of the secretaries of education in U.S. history, the position started with the Carter administration, do not have experience in education, Aisha. Arne Duncan was a hot mess. She also says, also, USDA is in charge, of school lunches. The Department of Ed at the state level manages the money. She also says, I was a public school teacher, so I know this stuff pretty well. So we did mention the name Jasmine Crockett, and I just want to play a little short video from her this week talking about the whole situation about DEI. So we're going to put it up here right now. And can everyone see? All right, let's play this video of Jasmine going in.
You consistently said over and over the word oppression, and every time that you said it, it was almost as if I was hearing nails on a chalkboard, because it seems like you don't understand the definition of oppression. And I'd ask you to just refer to Google to help you out. Oppression is the prolonged, cruel, or unjust treatment or control. That is the definition of oppression. And so as I sit here as a Black woman who practiced civil rights, let me tell you, the reason that my colleagues wanted to make sure you understood the same Black history that your side of the aisle wants to delete out of classrooms is because you can then misuse words like oppression. There has been no oppression for the white man in this country. You tell me which white men were dragged out of their homes. You tell me which one of them got dragged all the way across an ocean and told that you are going to go and work.
LGBTQ.
All right, Jasmine Crockett, laying it down.
I'm a little concerned for her. I really and truly believe in everything that she's doing. She's one of the few Democrats, if you ask me, who are doing her job right. But because of that, this is also going to make her a target. And we already know what's coming.
Right. And to Regina's point, yeah, I actually know where that comes from, because I used to do that for a public school, do all that funding and stuff for a public school here. But the woman that's in charge of the USDA also works for America First. And she and Linda are like that. Yeah, that's why I'm able to say all it'll take is for Trump to call, because Trump doesn't know that it comes through USDA. He thinks it goes through Department of Education. So he's going to call Linda, and Linda's going to call, what's her name? Rollins, I think her name is. I can't remember her name, but what is it? I think it's Rollins, and she's the one that he appointed to the U.S. Department of the USDA, and she's going to pull that funding. But this is the part for me that is just the horrible part of it. Betsy DeVos didn't have any experience in education either, and we saw what she undid, and we saw what she did. It was a disaster. And I think that, to your point, they might not have had other educational experience, but they had some kind of management experience. Okay. Linda McMahon has only managed a fake wrestling enterprise. They weren't even real wrestlers. Okay. They weren't even really wrestling. So a fake wrestling enterprise is not a fake education system. This woman scares me. And we know she's scary because my state rejected her twice. And she tried her third time, then pulled out. I don't think that they're going to be able to stop her, because also too, remember this, she's got more money than Trump. and this is something that I think that we really have to focus on all these appointments. Every last person that he's appointing is either a millionaire or a billionaire. We're becoming that government that Karl Marx talks about, where you have the proletariat class and the bourgeoisie. We're going to be run by the bourgeoisie. I mean, as it is, we know that the wealthy tend to float to the top and have more influence, but these are people that are literally going to be in positions of power. The only requirement to get a position in a Trump cabinet is that you have money. And more money than him, preferably.
Money and loyalty.
Loyalty, right, because he thinks it makes him look good. And we should be very concerned, too, about this. We talked briefly about this new office of Department of Government and Efficiency that Apartheid Andy and Vivek are going to run, right? It really does scare me because, and the reason I call him Apartheid Andy, I have a point. Elon Musk was raised in and grew up through apartheid in South Africa. He learned how to do it. I think his goal is the same here. Government efficiency, that role, in reading more about it, he basically gets to kind of say every government agency that Trump is putting all these people over with, he gets to say if their budget is too high or too low. Okay. He gets to determine the budget for education. He gets to determine what spending is too much for Department of Defense, for Homeland Security. Why him of all people, right? Because
LaLa. Need LaLa to jump in.
Yeah.
I'm getting ready to say there's also another element to that. I think you guys need to understand, with all of this SpaceX stuff that he's doing, now all of a sudden they're looking at actually our Kennedy Space Center budgets and things of that nature. Now, why do you think that is?
That's gone. It's all going to, all that money's going to go to SpaceX.
Exactly. But no one is talking about that.
Yeah.
So it needs to be brought to your attention that what billionaires do is they tell you what they want. Musk has said over and over that he wants to be the first trillionaire. If you don't think he's going to reach that before 2025, I got a bridge to sell you, because he's already lining up things to line his pocket. And what bothers me the most is, I actually had a conversation with a friend who I've actually been avoiding speaking to. And the way she let it roll off her tongue, how she truly believes that Musk and what's his name, Shamadan, whatever his name is going to make things right. They're going to make sure that our government does not overspend, scared the hell out of me. She truly believes this in her heart. And these people are lining their own pockets, and they're here to leave you high and dry while they reach their billion, trillion, gazillion statuses that they want. When you start seeing things like the Kennedy Space Center being defunded, don't be surprised.
Yeah,
because that's happening as we speak right now. Now, Musk has been putting his nose into other countries, not only Portugal, and I know Portugal. He purchased a home in the Algarve over here with some type of intention, so we better be watching him very closely. And also, the Italian Parliament president came out and said, you keep your business to yourself. Don't come over here with your mess. And he said, Musk, don't you dare even think about being involved in our elections. If you don't think these countries know that this man is going to have way more power, that he thinks now that he can get into every political arena. He thinks he has that power. This is very dangerous. And he's already telling people on his platform that that Biden is trying to load the judiciary department with judges. And the way he says it is the way of hatred. Of course, that's the way he does. He's putting all these crooked people in. Okay. So once again, they're going to continue this talk the way that they talk to their minions who truly believe and don't even research, but they're going to, excuse me, this is the phrase now, and find out, because you don't mean them, and they will throw you in the water. So I just want y'all to be very cautious and understand they are not there to cut any budget. They are there to line their pockets and Trump's.
Yeah.
Okay, let me jump in. I want to jump in with some comments. Regina says, I don't think ending free lunches is a good campaign strategy. Both DeVos and Duncan were pro-charter schools. She also says, if they close down free lunches, they can kiss the midterms goodbye. Seriously, poor rural areas are 100% free lunch too. Regina, also, you're good tonight, Regina. Good stuff. They are definitely going to try to get everything DEI related. Bank wipes. That is backfire on their voters too. At this point, I predict the 2026 midterms turn Congress deep blue.
And Regina, I would agree, except that everybody knew. They said that they were going to get rid of anything DEI. They started trying to, right? Because all those companies started pulling back and withdrawing. If you notice, right before the election, all those companies got rid of all their DEI programs, or took the funding away, or closed down a whole bunch of offices. You think it would have backfired in this election, but for some reason, Americans said we want more of that, because that's why they're trying to pass this bill.
I think. Well, some people will say no, not true. They're more concerned about their pocketbooks than DEI.
I disagree, and I go back to the thing that Lyndon B. Johnson said. Let me pull this quote for you, because Lyndon B. Johnson said this: if you can convince the lowest white man he's better than the best colored man, he won't notice you're picking his pocket. Somebody to look down on, and he'll empty his pockets for you. The bottom line is that these people have been told time and time and time again what Trump is going to do. They know well their taxes did not go down under Trump. They know this, but they still voted for him, and they say it's the cost of eggs. And I think I actually wrote this article on Medium last week. It wasn't the cost of eggs. It wasn't their pocketbook issues. Their pocketbook issues were a red herring for racism, because saying the cost of eggs sounds better than saying, I just don't want those colored people to have a period. That's what it is, because even if you engage in conversation with these people and you say, well, okay, well, the cost of eggs went down 22% in the last 4 years.
Okay.
But
Well,
go ahead, Lala.
Because they continue to talk about these prices of eggs and things of that nature, when places like Kroger, grocery stores, and other places have been caught and also came out and said they raised prices on purpose, knowing that, hey, we know that this is going to be fine, we're going to do that, and people had no idea that they were doing this behind the scenes. And now that we know it, because the report has come out, they still think that Trump is the one who's going to be lowering these prices, when actuality, that's not the truth. In actuality, Trump may still allow them to continue the shenanigans that they were doing in the first place. So your eggs ain't coming down, baby. He
can't set a price point. That the prices are set by the corporations and the companies in the industry. The president has not one thing to do with that. And that goes back to the miseducation. Forget the miseducation of the Negro, right? Or even the miseducation of Lauryn Hill. It's the miseducation of American citizens. Because for some reason, people still think that the president can do X, Y, and Z, and he cannot do a thing. He can't do anything when it comes to that.
That's the same reason that they kept trying to say that that Kamala, well, what has she done in 4 years? Well, she did her role as vice president. Do you not understand what that means? So once again, we're going back to the basics. We're going back to the basics of, do you understand our government? Do you understand civics? Do you understand what our three-ring circus is supposed to look like? Because about 95%, this is my own percentage, I didn't look it up, but I feel this way. 95% of America does not understand how our government works. And so therefore they're going to fall for anything.
Right. And I wrote on I wrote this Blue Sky that and when they burn it all down, the next generation is going to look at them and say, was it worth, was the cost of eggs worth this? And they're like, the eggs, it's the eggs. And kids are going to say, are you sure? And that's when they're going to realize that the eggs were racism, because that's all. It's easier to say that than it is to say the truth. The absolute truth is that it's the racism. And here's the thing. If we continue to dance around the subject, if Democrats continue to dance around the subject, they will continue to lose elections. America's not getting less diverse. It's getting more diverse. And as it gets more diverse, the racism problem is going to grow and swell. And you can't solve a problem by running away from it or kicking it down. Because guess what? You can't kick it down the road. You know why? The majority of children under 21, and I can think of a 21-year-old kid, even though they're a legal adult, but they are people of color. They are at least one or more race of color. Okay. So this is where we are.
All right. So I want to catch up on some comments and read some excerpts from an article. So Regina says, Aisha, the voters never wake up until it bites them in their butt.
Nope.
She also says, and groceries and gas prices ain't going to go down with high tariffs. Yes, pockets have to be empty to wake up. She also says, and agree that the racists won. Hey, Michelle, what's going on? She says, Aisha, you're correct. They are racist. Regina also says, rural areas usually vote tally systems that can be hacked, unlike urban areas. And Michelle goes, miseducation of poor white people and their need to be better than black people. Even it makes them poorer, sicker, and unemployed. Ouch.
But how many times have I said this in the 7 years that we've been doing this, Dr. Vibe? I said this in our very first conversation, that white people, our generation and older, were told this one thing: you will never see a black president in your lifetime. They believed it and we believed it, because that's what we heard over and over and over and again. And then they knew that they could be poor, they could have nothing, but the one thing that they could aspire to, the one thing that was reserved in this country still just for white people, specifically white men, is the presidency. And then a black man was elected president. And they broke. It broke them. They don't know how to put themselves back together again. And so rather than trying to live with that new reality, they doubled down on the racism. They couldn't hide it anymore. Because remember, they've been hiding it for years. Doing it behind closed doors, the microaggressions, to the point it's just like, we can't hold it out. We can't hold it anymore. And Donald Trump came in and gave the permission structure for them to not have to. He went out and said, you don't have to, because guess what? I don't.
Okay. So Minnie on Cam says, you repeat something long enough for future generations, believe something without questioning it. Sorry. So I'm going to pull some information from an article that was written by, and I'm going to reach out to this guy. I'd like to see if he would like to come on the show. Brendan Tensley, and thank you, Aisha, for supplying this article. The title of the article is How 45's Cabinet Picks Could Harm Black Americans. The tagline is, his selections for his cabinet and administration include, quote, a great replacement theory, unquote, proponent, and alleged white nationalist. So I'm just going to go through, I'm going to read what he says at the intro, and then I'm going to go through each position and the author's concerns for Black people. So the article goes, so just bear with me for a few moments here. Quote, great replacement theory, unquote, advocate to represent the U.S. on the international stage, an alleged white nationalist to head defense, a vaccine conspiracy theorist to lead one of the country's main public health agencies. With each announcement or of a cabinet or White House pick, President-elect 47 is assembling a team of players with a long history of oppositions to policies that support Black Americans and handling his team a policy agenda that deeply threatens our communities. 45's nominees are overwhelmingly anti-Black Lives Matter, anti-diversity, equity, and inclusion. There are also peddlers of, quote, reverse racism, unquote, as well as outspoken opponents of the browning of the country. One of 47's main considerations for a cabinet or White House role isn't relevant policy, but expertise, but rather loyalty to him, as he taps people who have a track record of following his orders. The unorthodox selection process, combined with some nominees' contributions to the infamous Conservative Manifesto Project 2025, has many worried about what his next administration has in store for Black communities. Here are some of 47's more high-profile picks and overviews of where they stand on the issues of race and identity that will have major impact on Black life over the next 4 years and possibly longer. Pam Bondi. Bondi entered politics as part of the Tea Party movement that arose in opposition to former President Barack Obama. She spearheaded a failed attempt to overturn Obamacare in 2012, according to CNN, and has become a fierce 47 loyalist in the years since. She was part of his rapid response team during his first impeachment in 2019. Stephen Miller, no one's talking, but he's back. Miller was a senior advisor of 47's 2024 presidential campaign. He's the architect behind 47's plans for mass deportations in recent months, as 47 and his allies have vilified Haitian immigrants and endangered their lives. Miller has used social media to fuel the frenzy, exposing the zero-sum view that President Joe Biden wants to help Haitian immigrant migrants at the expense of Americans. Robert F. Kennedy Jr., Secretary of the Department of Health and Human Services, he produced a documentary claiming that COVID vaccines were designed to harm Black communities and has peddled the lie that COVID targets Black Americans. Asked earlier this year whether he regrets exacerbating vaccine skepticism for Black communities, Kennedy told NBC News, no. U.S. Representative Elise Stefanik of New York, U.S. Ambassador to the United Nations. Additionally, Stefanik has attacked people who support Palestinians, whom Black Americans have long felt solidarity with. Recall the campaign she was part of against Claudine Gay, the former Black president of Harvard University, after the October 7th Hamas attack on Israel. Quote, this was an attack on her race and her gender, not on how she handled anti-Semitism on Harvard's campus or on the rigor of her scholarship. Cornell William Brooks, a professor of the practice of public leadership and social justice at the Harvard University School, told Capital B. Senator Marco Rubio, Secretary of the U.S. Department of State. Just last year, he complained in a report that, quote, woke is weak, unquote, and that the department's, quote, misguided focus on wokeness has undermined the effectiveness and distracted it from its duty to protect and promote America's national interests, unquote. He also added that such attention, quote, will only undermine our efforts on the world stage, unquote. Rubio's remarks are more than a little concerning, since experts have for years stressed that greater diversity makes the department better and efficient and helps it achieve foreign policy goals. Tulsi Gabbard, Director of National Intelligence. Let's see. Scrutiny of her possible foreign entanglements comes weeks after an election in which the FBI accused Russia of interfering in ways that impacted Black voters. During this past election cycle, 47 friendly Russia was said to have made bomb scares against polling places near Atlanta with large Black populations, a plot to suppress Black voter turnout. It's unclear whether Gabbard would stand up for American interests in the face of such threats. Pete Hegseth, Secretary of U.S. Department of Defense. In the past, he's claimed that racial discrimination in the military is a lie, gross that Black troops are promoted, quote, simply on their race, unquote, and repeated the white nationalist rhetoric of the, quote, great replacement theory, according to Washington Post Review. Hegseth has also urged 47 to fire others pushing what he calls, quote, a woke agenda, unquote, even though racial diversity has been shown to improve the effectiveness of military operations. Hegseth said he would replace Lloyd Austin, the first Black person in the post. Just a few more family. Brendan Carr, Chairman of the Federal Communications Commission. Let's see. FCC usually zoom in on issues such as digital divide, but not Carr, a telecommunications attorney. 47's choice for the position has been railing against diversity, equity, and inclusion efforts and against technology companies for supposedly censoring the free speech rights of election denialists. An FCC member since 2017, when 47 appointed him, Carr wrote the Project 2025 chapter on the agency, claiming that one of the chief goals of the FCC under the new administration should be reining in on big tech, unquote, by which he largely means pushing back against companies' good faith attempts to do such things as eliminate the threat of election denialism. Like others in 47's orbit, Carr often talks about the importance of promoting, quote, a diversity of viewpoints, unquote, which in our current political climate is usually the way of elevating conservative voices, not racially diverse ones or equity-based ones. Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy, heads of the Department of Government Efficiency. Aisha and LaLa's two of their favorites. Let's see. Both men frequently spend their time bellowing out the supposed scars of, quote, wokeness, unquote. Musk has lambasted the imaginary, quote, woke mind virus, unquote, consuming society. And he was roundly criticized this year by civil rights groups for making baseless claims that moves to increase racial diversity make workplaces less safe. Similarly, when Ramaswamy was running for the Republican Party nomination, he presented himself as, quote, an anti-woke activist, unquote, complaining about pushes for racial and gender equality and climate justice. At one point, he called Juneteenth a, quote, useless, unquote, holiday.
Apartheid.
Linda McMahon, Secretary of the U.S. Department of Education. She donated $6 million to 47's campaign after he won the party nomination in 2016 and was the head of the Small Business Administration during his first stint in the White House. She said she initially wanted to be an educator. She said, South Dakota Governor Christian Noem, Secretary of Department of Homeland Security. Let's see. Okay, like many of 47's cabinet and White House picks, Noem, who's been governor of South Dakota since 2019, is an advocate of a litany of conservative causes. She has battled against transgender rights and critical race theory, and she also opposed implementing public safety restrictions to slow the spread of the pandemic that disproportionately harm communities of color. She goes, additionally, Noem has been allowed acquitted of Biden's administration policies and on multiple occasions has deployed members of the South Dakota National Guard to the U.S.-Mexico border, which he calls, quote, a war zone, unquote. Lee Zeldin, when he was this is administrator of the environmental U.S. Department of Environmental Protection Agency. When he was a representative, Zeldin joined the most other House Republicans in opposing Biden's 2021 infrastructure bill, which addressed pollution and former industrial energy sites, made more communities of color more resilient to extreme weather events, upgraded power structure, and eliminated lead pipes that contaminated drinking water. Oh, we're getting to the end. Mehmet Oz, administrator of the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services. He made a successful run for U.S. Senate seat in 2022, campaigning as a Republican. And in the past, before his failed run for office, he supported Obamacare, according to CNN's K File, though a spokesperson at the time denied that Oz would have voted for Obama's landmark law expanding healthcare coverage. So we just went through the whole gamut.
And that's not even the whole list of people that he's appointing. It's actually a lot longer if you count some of the positions that aren't cabinet heads. I mean, aren't agency heads, because there are also the deputies that he's also put out. I went through the list. It was so long I couldn't even look at it. But obviously, these aren't people that he just decided. Some of these people were suggested by the America First PAC, as well as the people behind Project 2025. And, you know, I listened to you read that and I'm thinking to myself, reading the comments, I'm thinking to myself, our government's going to need an exorcism when this is done. Because this is pure evil. It's almost satanic when you think about how depraved all of these people that he's wanting to put here are. I mean, the guy saying that the military, there's no segregation in the military and there's no racism in the military. I'm sorry. My grandfather and my daughter's grandfather, who just happened to be the same age, were both in segregated units in the military. What are you talking about? It's a historical thing. I mean, you know, this week, do you know the one thing that Congress spent the majority of their time doing? Debating over bathrooms, because there is going to be a transgender.
Lala's face was just priceless for a minute. And her
Yes.
face is priceless right now. If you're watching
Yes.
this live on
Nancy
the
Mace and Marjorie Taylor
yes,
Greene
yes,
railing
I know
on
about this.
about
I know
bathrooms
about this. Yeah.
because of the incoming transgendered woman who will be taking a House seat. And I'm sitting here and I'm thinking, really? And their whole thing is that, oh, well, women should be able to use the bathroom and da, 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 da. And so they try to force this woman to use the bathroom of the gender she was assigned at birth, regardless if she is physically now a woman or not. And they basically, I forgot who it was that said this, but basically it seemed like the only way that they would be, their proposal, the only way you'd be able to know for sure who was biologically male or female would be to check their genitals. How else would you know?
That's coming. I know that
That is,
sounds
yes,
absolutely
that is
crazy. I know that it sounds really
no,
bad.
that is coming.
It's coming.
And people gave the incoming congresswoman a hard time because she's just like, you know what, forget it, just whatever. I'll use whatever. I'll use a different bathroom. I don't care. You know, let's just get past this and get to we'll get to the real business. I don't. You know, people were like saying, oh, she's sold out. No. You know what? Sometimes you just don't want to argue with these people. It's just easier to say, you know what, forget it.
You'll never get the job done if you continue
Exactly.
to argue things that don't matter.
Because here's the thing, if you tell them, fine, I'll just do whatever, they have nothing left to argue about it.
All right.
I just want to bring a point up that
Go ahead.
we talked about Musk and all this stuff, and he, anything that they want to make it seem like it's bad, they call woke. They always say woke like it's a bad thing. We folk know that there's nothing wrong about woke, but I want you to pay attention. Just this last couple of weeks, Musk has now started attacking Jaguar, calling them woke. Why do you think that he's doing that? So that his electric cars and these cyber trucks and all this stuff that he is in on will be now what people want to buy, because now that he's classified someone as woke, the minions will no longer buy that. And you're talking about a luxury car.
Mm-hmm. And he's out here putting out this car that looks like it belongs back in 1982. It's a version of Johnny 5 and a DeLorean, and people are buying it.
All right, let me just catch up here. Michelle says the prediction had been by 2045 the U.S. will be a majority country.
You know, Michelle, I think actually we're close. We're going to be close. I think it's more like probably 2030, and I think that's why this push has been so aggressive.
Regina says Stefanik is a toxic Superfund site.
Yeah.
And
Rachel
says, I don't think Gabbard's going to get in. Cheryl says Pete Hegseth is getting a lot of pushback from the military. He will probably not get appointed either. Carr is a huge nutcase. What a basket of deplorables.
But she's right about Peter Hegseth, because the thing with Matt Gaetz was him being a predator. Same thing's happening with this guy, because 2 women have come out talking about this guy. And I think that's what's going to be his undoing. But don't worry, they have someone else in mind.
Okay. Also, Minyan Cam says Transgender Day of Remembrance was on November 20th.
And that was the day they were doing it. That was so bad. That's what was so bad. They picked that day.
No, but they do that on purpose.
Mm-hmm.
They undermine everything by doing things on the day. Now, here's what I see is going to happen next. As soon as they can get rid of Martin Luther King Day, as soon as they can get rid of Juneteenth, as soon as they can get rid of anything that has to do with celebrating anybody that is not Christopher Columbus.
Yep. They're going to get rid of Indigenous, all the stuff.
So, Lala, what were you thinking when I read the list of cabinet nominees and a little bit of their background? What were your thoughts?
Basically, I was just holding my tongue. I just honestly, there's only so much anger that you can take before it starts to harm yourself. So the things that I have started to do to balance is, okay, what can I do? What awareness can I bring to those who really need to hear what needs to be said in order for us to take care of our communities? Because what he's doing, you can't control. We can't control who he's going to put in there. And soon we're not going to have control about who we're going to be able to put into our schools, who's going to be watching these banned books and things of that nature. So my thing is, how do we get together for those who want to get together? Because you're always going to have some people who are just not going to care. But those who do care, what are we going to do for us and our communities? And what are we going to do for the future communities of our children? But one thing that I've been telling people, because it's been laying on my heart really heavy, and I kid you not, I actually pray over this. I pray that God gives me something to say or a solution that will make a difference. And the one thing that keeps coming to my mind is you need to watch the politicians on what they're investing in.
Yep.
Watch Pelosi, watch Gates, watch anybody that's up in there. I don't care who you watching, because honey, they ain't getting rich off of just being a part of Congress and Senate. So my advice to you is, if you are investing even just $5 a day, go see what they are investing in and you do the same.
Right. You know, I think about what you said earlier about Elon Musk and the contracts and things. We have a federal acquisitions regulation that says that you cannot be an employee of the government and have contracts with the government under your name or under a business or a business that you own. And the key here is that we already know they're not going to enforce this. They are going to break the law. They are going to break the law to govern. And then how do we know Trump won't pay for it? Well, because the Supreme Court said that he can break the law if he's doing it as part of his role as the president. So
he's a convicted felon. What do you think?
Exactly. There's not going to be any pushback from that. So like Lala said, what do you tell people to do? Because people need to feel empowered. And so I started thinking about some common sense things that people can do. It's going to be this, the way that we fight this isn't going to be on the national level, because we won't have control over that. That election won't come for 4 years. The people who are in our congressional seats are there for another 2 years. Senate seats for a total of 6, wherever, your person is in their term. So the best way to do it is on your local level. Start going to and joining your local PTA, whether you have kids there or not. Your tax dollars go to fund that. And why do I say start there? Because this is where Trump started winning this campaign. They started at those PTA meetings with Moms for Liberty, doing the book banning, talking about the books were too woke. Once they started with that, the woke, this caught on, and it went up the channels to the point that you had governors saying it. Then you had congressional people. Then you had a president saying it. Okay. So start there. Start attending some meetings. Go to your local city council. I know mine means the first, or what is it, the first Monday or the third Monday of every month. Go to those meetings. You have a right to go sit there. They have a public comment period. You have a right to ask questions on anything that they have at the agenda. They have to publish the agenda, because remember, whatever salaries people get for these positions, your tax dollars, your local tax dollars pay for. Start going to those meetings, and then look at your state house. Your state house will list all of the committee hearings and whether or not there is room for public comment. If you have something to say, go and give your testimony. You have that public right to do it. I had to provide testimony for as a result of what job I had at a legislative committee hearing. I sat there for 4 hours waiting to speak, but I got to say my piece. So do those things on the local level. Make sure you're heard. And I promise you, you go to those things and you show up and you show up and you show up, they're going to hate to see you come in, because that means that they have to have an answer for you every time you do.
Lala, anything?
Do it now before they change it. You can't.
Oh, and okay, so Lala, too, part of your wheelhouse is financial. What is your message to Black or African Americans for the next 4 years when it comes to their finances?
I know that a lot of the times people think that, it may be unreachable, or they just keep putting it off. But honestly, you really do need to buy yourself a piece of land. You need something that you're going to be able to get your wealth around, and to be able to launch that into other things. So maybe if you're thinking, oh, I really want a 3-bedroom house, but I can't afford it, I only can buy this condo. Do it. Buy the condo, because that leads into other things that you'll be able to use your funds for college for your children, help put retirement in your hands, to also use some of the equity to invest into the things that I'm telling you to do. Senate, Congress, judicial. Look at what they're doing. This is the way you start building your own encampment of protection, is by at least owning something that someone cannot physically take away from you. Now, listen, we know history. Yes, they have taken things away, but it's not that level yet. If you can just buy yourself a little piece of land somewhere, you still have the power to launch that into something good. And guess what else I'm going to tell you? It doesn't have to be in America. You can buy land almost in every country.
Anywhere.
Just understand what you're getting into. And if you're curious to know, like, how that looks, what does that look like? What are some things that you need to consider? I created a Move Abroad quiz to see if you even are thinking, can I do this or can I not? And it's real easy to just download it, bit.ly/moving abroad quiz. And see if that's even something that is possible for you. Because
segment. Oh, sorry.
Yes,
go on.
So you need to be able to start thinking outside of the box when it comes to protecting your family and your finances. Don't just roll over and take this. You don't have to. There are ways to fight back within your own home.
Yeah. I was reading an article, and there's a province in Italy that has 50,000 homes that they're willing to sell to disaffected Americans after this election. The price is like $1. There are a lot of them are fixer-uppers, but they're like, yay, you can own this property. I actually looked into that because I thought to myself, like, do I want to necessarily retire here, right? No. Or do I want to have a place that I can go to when, for extended periods of time when I need to get away from this craziness? And Lala is absolutely right. And what I can tell you is, even Minnie makes the comment of get out of consumer debt and buy land, and you don't necessarily have to do that part to get out of consumer debt, because I think
you don't have to look at.
Yeah,
Elon Musk's fortune has been leveraged on other people's money,
right? Because a lot of people
and he's in a lot of debt himself,
right? And a lot of people think that you have to get out of debt in order to buy land. You don't. You don't. Because what happens is that people are like, well, I have to wait. And in that time, those opportunities go by. One of the things about what Lala was saying in terms of investing in property, yeah, please do it, because the regulation, they're going to change regulations on a lot of things. They're going to loosen some regulations, but they're going to put some stricter regulations.
I need you to stop for a few, because a few things I want to, and I also want to ask both of you some questions. But Regina says 1% of Americans are trans. MAGA is delusional. A recent survey showed they think 30% of Americans are trans.
Yeah.
I would like to use the R word here, but it's verboten. She also says, LaLa, 100% correct. Congress has insider trading tips, so we should follow what they are investing in. And Minnie said, get out of consumer debt and buy land. LaLa, what was the name of that thing you gave a link for? You had what was it called? Like,
it's a quiz for moving abroad, and it's bit.ly/.
No, I got that part, but I'm going to just share that with the audience in the chat for all the people watching live on the replay. And also what I'm going to do is I'm going to put it up on the screen so people can take, and if there's any further, take a look at it. If you have any questions, the lady who knows all about it is right here. So I'm sure your contact information is part of that sharing. And
I also want to just tag on to what Aisha said. It is very much true. I have researched a lot of these programs where these countries are offering properties for $1 or a little of nothing. It sounds daunting. But some of them are opening up just because of this.
Okay.
And Americans get first dibs.
Yes. But I want you to understand that also involves a lot of paperwork. It also involves possibly buying in areas that they're trying to revive because the elderly population is dying out. And so they're trying to revive some of these towns. But you have to understand that you're not stuck where you are. Open your brain. Will it bring something different? How will you know if you don't try?
Exactly. I got some specific questions to ask you ladies, because I know I wanted to get at earlier, but I want to ask. So
before you ask that question, one more thing I want to say, because we didn't cover this topic, and I do have to say this because I know that a lot of our viewers are watching. Healthcare.
I was going to ask about that.
Healthcare. They want to get rid of prescription benefit managers, but those are go-betweens between the consumer and the pharmaceutical company, and they negotiate the drug prices that are set by the drug manufacturers. That is in America. That is specifically in their America First plan. They want to get rid of those, what they refer to as middlemen, who negotiate the prices, mainly because Big Pharma funds their stuff. Big Pharma doesn't make money when they have to negotiate prices. Their lobbyists are on the side of Trump. So I just wanted to put that out there too. So beware of that, because your prescription drug prices might go up.
Okay. So based on what you have seen from 47's campaign and his administration, what impact will his economic policies have on Black Americans?
You are the have-nots. You are the target. Anything that they will be able to strip from you in the name of making white right and not putting oppression on them is going to happen. It's already happening. Wake up. You need to really see that it's happening. So you are in danger. And that's not a scare tactic. It's just the truth. And the more that you stop shaking your head saying he can't do that, just remember he's done a lot of things that we didn't think that he could do. And they are going to allow him to do so, because this is why he is putting these people in these positions, only to uplift what he needs. So you need to get out of the thought that the government can't change and the government can't hurt you, or no one's going to be able to touch you because he can't do that fast. Yes, he can. So what you need to do is make sure that you make the necessary changes and get out of the woe is me mindset. Yes, I am there too, but I fight it every day. But I also know that I'm not going to lay down and take it. So see what you can do for yourself.
All right. Minnie on Cam says this is how they attack people with chronic health conditions and disability, by hitting hard at their prescriptions.
Yeah.
What potential impact will 47 and his administration have on social justice and policing in regards to Black Americans?
Well, before that, one quick thing. I do want to say, to piggyback on what LaLa said before, I need people to understand, because a lot of Black people, particularly in the South, live in rural communities where the one store that they have is a Walmart. Walmart announced this week that they are going to be raising their prices right before Christmas. So, and they're raising them in response to these tariffs. So they really are these potential tariffs. So pay attention to those things. That's going to affect people because their costs are automatically going to go up before this man even takes the pledge. Now, what you were saying about social justice, it's going to be harder to fight. There's going to be more of it to fight. Police are going to feel emboldened. You know what? Think about it this way. We saw the whole Black Lives Matter movement from the time of its early beginnings with Trayvon Martin on up through and past George Floyd. But there was a breaking point in 2020, not just because of the video, but the number of people being killed back to back to back in that summer. Do not forget who was president. Do not forget who was president in 2020. And why do we see that? Because he emboldened police officers. He emboldened them. And he's about to do it again.
So then my next conversation piece then is, what impact on Black Americans? Well, you've talked a little bit already about education, but also housing policies on Black Americans.
Well, you're definitely going to see a cut in the Section 8 vouchers. You're also going to see cuts for affordable housing because the rich take care of the rich. So what they're going to do is start to remove the requirements for sex. Here, let me give you an example. Say they build a condo, a brand new condo thing. By law, most of them, to get any kind of government money, has to have at least one or two affordable housing units in that condo, depending on how many they're building. They're going to now remove those requirements so that they're just regular price. So we are going to start seeing that, and we're going to see that quickly, because let's not forget, this is actually his wheelhouse. He was doing that in New York City. So be prepared for that.
Mm-hmm.
All right, let's take a look at maybe some other. What about in regards to environmental justice? How's that going to impact Black Americans?
Well, you said who the EPA person was. It's going to be climate denial, and we know that climate justice is an issue that impacts communities of color more intricately, right? But here's the other part too. Remember all these natural disasters that just happened and FEMA. Do you think that Elon Musk, because remember, they might not be in charge of FEMA, but they're in charge of government efficiency. So if they think that FEMA's given too much money, all they have to do is whisper in dude's ear. Because remember, let's be very clear. The proper order for how these offices go is president, Department of Government Efficiency. Vice president comes way down here, because notice you haven't seen that vice president with anyone. He showed up on Capitol Hill to help try and get Matt Gaetz passed, who's just as creepy and rapey as he is. But aside from that, you haven't seen him next to Donald Trump at all. Who's flying with him on his plane? Elon Musk. Who's having dinner with these people that he wants to nominate? Elon Musk. So Mr. Co-President there is going to be in his ear all the time talking about what to cut. Whether these people, put it this way, these people are just window dressing. The person who's going to be running the budgets for all these agencies is going to be Elon Musk. And Vivek Ramaswamy is just there because guess what? He doesn't have enough money to step to Elon.
Anything you want to add, Lala? You're on mute.
He's there for the illusion of color being in the cabinet. That's the only reason he's there.
Well, there was a cabinet person that he nominated, was a Black gentleman, I believe.
He's there for the token pawn.
That's what I told you, Scott Turner.
Yeah. Okay, so Tony says, is the probably there a software, anything to find out what Congress is investing in? Yes,
Not a
there are.
software.
There's a few websites. I'm going to
Yeah,
put
I
them in
just
the
gave you
chat.
one, Dr. Vibe, actually, that people can search by the politician.
Well, and here I'm going to put it up as a banner. There are two of them here. One called capitaltrades.com, another one called opensecrets.org. So I've also put those in the comments section, and also there's another site here that I'm going to just put on the screen for Tony.
Yeah.
Another website is smartinsider.com.
Right. That one is different than the Capital Trades one, because you can actually search by politician name.
Yeah.
So if you want to know just your politicians or some of these other ones, you can search by their name. You can filter by stock. Okay. You can do all that. You can also find the value of it. You find out what kind of company it is, and you can also find the date.
No problem, Tony. Our pleasure. Thank you. That's and Regina goes, thanks. I have a feeling some people are going to be doing some digging into those sites. I think it'd be very interesting to come back and find out.
The other thing I like about the site is that you can see who is active in the last 60 days and what they were active on.
Well, so those are going through the sites. Hey, if you can do some research on them, and when you come back, tell us what you found out that you found of interest.
And guess what? You'll also find there will also be a little thing you find out what they were active on, what the stock was, and whether to buy, sell, or trade in the buy, sell, or trade value.
There you go. Well, I think that's a wrap. I think that's a wrap today. Lala's face is telling me it's time to wrap. Yes, it's time to wrap. All right. So, as always, family, we'd like to say thank you for hanging out with, but more importantly, thank you for the two ladies for spending the most valuable thing they have, their time with us. And as usual, we'd like them to share their contact information. So Lala's up first.
Yes, I am. And it's easy to find me at bit.ly/Laura Key Info. I have really been working hard, especially since the election, on trying to get some information for you to help educate yourself. Not only do I have free resources there on that site, I also have a video that I just published 2 days ago on YouTube, and my name is Realty Goddess, that talks about things that you need to think about if you're thinking of moving abroad. It's going to get your wheels moving to see if this is something that you are ready to tackle. Don't get stuck. Get active.
100% love it. Next up, there she is, Aisha K. Staggers.
Yeah. You can follow me on Blue Sky. You can follow me on Instagram, and on my Medium. I've been putting out pretty much an article or two a week. This last week I talked about Black women getting somebody else to do it. I do have this article I mentioned to Dr. Vibe and Lala about bro culture that I'm sitting on. I'm not sure if I'm going to publish that or another piece, but one piece I am going to publish is about Alanis Morissette's album and Mary J. Blige's album, both of which turned 30, and both being two sides of a black and white coin.
Well, it's actually very interesting because I had a chance to meet Alanis Morissette when she was just starting out. And shy, kept her head down, wouldn't even look at you straight in the face. So that is going to be an interesting article. All right, fantastic. All right, family. And if you want to get in touch with website, the drvibeshow.com, YouTube, Facebook, and LinkedIn, The Dr. Vibe Show, Instagram at The Dr. Vibe Show, X/Twitter. I don't know how much longer. I forgot to do a little third part. I couldn't fit everything on, so I've got to find a way of managing it around. X/Twitter at drvibeshow.com. Email address dr.vibe at the drvibeshow.com. As always, you can watch replays of Primetime Saturday with Aisha and Lala at The Dr. Vibe Show, YouTube, Facebook, and LinkedIn. The Dr. Vibe Show website, the drvibeshow.com. And also follow these ladies. Like Lala broadcasts this on her page, so why not follow her? And we're going to be doing some interesting stuff coming up in the next few weeks where Aisha and LaLa are going to do a little spotlight on some of the stuff they're doing. So I am really excited by that. And you're saying, okay, what are you doing, Dr. Vibe? Well, right now, because I do this all on my own, I'm just sharing their contact information on all or most of the platforms that you can watch this live or on the replay. So that's what I'm doing. So let's finish up. Live your life as a dream. If you can dream it, you can make it. Sometimes you have to get small to get stronger. Block assumptions and aim bigger, aim better, aim higher, aim wider. Love, faith, and respect. And as always, don't just manage your time, manage your energy. And remember to give yourselves grace. And we will see you on the digital streets. But check us out on Blue Sky too. Be well and keep the faith.